How's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a great weekend. In this video, me and another Grandmaster Jgiusti are going to be laying out our plans for the start of Season 7 of Crucible. Make sure you look at this for inspiration, probably not just to directly copy it, as we do have very developed rosters that may not be applicable to all players, but we're going to break down room by room. It should be a very interesting watch for you. If you like the video, please make sure you leave it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, head on over to Jgiusti's channel and do the exact same thing. A link will be in the comment section below as well as the description. But for right now, let's go talk about some Crucible.
How's it going, everybody? I'm here with Jgiusti, the budgetary Crucible master, at coming up with very clever defensive teams to make Kraken struggle against, but also keeping himself an offensive roster so he can get full clears and hopefully one-shot everything. And we're going to be talking about the Crucible rules that we have available to us in Season 7, some options that we thought about, some of the theory crafting we just did here on stream, and probably what we're going to be doing ourselves in the first week. So, Jgiusti, when you started reading the rules for Season 7, how did it make you feel? Were you more excited than Season 6, or do you think it might be a little stale?
I think it's early to make a decision on that. I want to see these rooms play out. My instinct is that these rooms aren't strong enough to change any of the meta. The top 12 teams stay the top 12 teams.
Minus Hive Mind.
And then you lose Hive Mind, but you also get a raid team. So, but I think a lot of the same teams you're using are sadly going to be the same teams for season to season.
Yeah, and the way I have it set up right now, it's almost like they didn't really change where they're going in the rooms either, with the exception of that stage 6. So let's break it down room by room. So we got the full house room. In this room, ability block is going to be kind of running rampant depending on what ISO you got. Striker, you'll increase your damage if you have ability block. Raider, you'll actually clear that ability block. That's going to kind of create the most havoc. And then skirmishers, even if they're doing AoE hits, they're going to put that that ability block on absolutely everybody. My gut reaction here was, and this is how I normally do my Crucibles, is I want 2 big rooms that are going to give my opponent enough RNG issues that they're going to take an L, or just stretch them a little bit too much, right? But with the introduction of the Cabal team, and how Cabal doesn't really seem like they're going to be a good defensive team with that on-spawn speed bar still going through, I think you actually talked me out of what I was going to do. Because I was going to do full extreme here with Rogue instead of Sunspot. And I was going to have Raider on Forge, Skirmisher on Nightcrawler to get my own AoE stuff out there, since Nightcrawler naturally clears buffs on his turn, kind of like Kang does. But we're kind of going with, and this is a team used against me in our last Crucible matchup, is Unlimited with Phoenix. Now, Stage 1 last season made it like Gambit a time bomb or a proximity bomb, right? If he got low enough and then he ulted, death. Here, the interesting idea is that it kind of makes Dazzler only controllable with a stun. So why don't you talk me through what we're feeling on Stage 1 with this current team we have here?
Yeah, so I think this is more of an offensive focused roster. So we're thinking more for the general player, right? This is a team. This is a, if you know everything, because when you start getting into higher levels, you're going to start seeing more things on defense. And I think this is the best low budget or like B tier defense, right? Because so this is a good team, right? It's going to soak up a new Warriors, it's going to soak up Masters of Evil, something along that lines to make it difficult. But this is probably the first team that you're going to take out if you wanted to run something more defensive meta heavy, right? You're going to, first thing you probably do is you take this team, you condense down your extreme and your ULX, your extreme and ULX, and then you put something else here to stretch, right? Because the combined team is a lot stronger. But both these teams take good counters to beat, so that's why you want to just kind of stretch out your opponent a little bit more.
Yeah, like you said, to beat Stage 1, like they're going to have to do maybe an Eternals Apocalypse, a Tangled Web Eternal team, Masters of Evil, a new Warriors. Of course, something like Superior Six or Cabal will come in here and demolish this. But they can't hit it with like Wakanda and walk away. They can't just safely beat it with Death Seed and walk away. So they're just going to have to do something that's going to tax their offensive roster a little bit. Moving on to Stage 2. I think Stage 2 is probably going to be the stage that is going to actually evolve the most and have the most irregularities in it, because the raid teams are not going to fall victim to Cabal because they have on-spawn speed bar in most cases, right? Like Sylvie, 45% on-spawn speed bar, then hits you with a nasty rewind. Pegasus, up to 75% speed bar, just hits you with so much damage out the gate. Hive Mind, they get some speed bar with the Void Knight, and then they can get other speed bar, which would be stopped by the Cabal team, but Hive Mind is kind of the worst defense team in here anyway. The Extreme team, they do get 25% speed bar on spawn, all of them, and then Nightcrawler gets speed up. And then obviously Nightcrawler's not going to give any further speed up, although I think with his dodges, he might still give the speed bar if they do dodge that skirmisher from Iron Patriot. So I do think that stage 2 is going to be where you might see characters like Skrull eventually pop up, Apocalypse, other options like that. But like you said, we want to talk to the general player base the most right now. How do you think this is going to go? Because Bifrost was the big headache team before. They've taken away 50% of their resistance. Do you think Deathseed can come in here and beat that? Or what do you think is going to happen with stage 2 for the first weeks?
Yeah. So I think that, first of all, it's just kind of explain that a little bit, right? So raid teams have this, they have these supercharged parts of their kits that make them very difficult for Crucible. Boosts do not as high as not as strong as raid boost.
Yeah.
Raid boosts, if you read raid tunes kits, they are insane. And so you can't really use a lot of your traditional Crucible counters into this room because it's really going to be a lot of raid teams versus raid teams. There are some exceptions. We're not going to get into that, but just that idea that we're probably going to use one raid team to beat another raid team. And so with that, your strongest two are probably Pegasus and Bifrost. And I think that Pegasus has more value on offense. You can at least use them elsewhere if there's someone you put something weird into. And whereas Bifrost, if you can't use Bifrost here, they're just you know, they're not going to have any value for you in any other room but 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, you're taking away a decent offensive weapon if you put Pegasus here. Though I do think Pegasus is arguably the better raid team against Extreme, against Hive Mind. But Bifrost will beat Pegasus. So you would, again, be taxing yourself on an offensive team where you don't have to, and it can be beatable. So that's interesting enough. Moving on to stage 3. So stage 3, all characters who have taunt are going to gain offense up on their turn, and all allies that have offense up will assist now on turn as well, which I think it's a very powerful room, but one that is easily circumvented just by beating the enemy team on speed, right? You think about putting Superior 6 here, well, that Skrull Doom counter can get through that, unless you make some alterations to Superior 6, which again, we're not going to talk about here in this video just quite yet. Otherwise, a great budgetary team. This is another one that you brought up, another one that you kicked my butt with, is Extreme with Jubilee. Why don't you talk us through why this team is pretty successful here and how it's going to tax your enemy?
Yeah, so it has a bunch of offense ups, and I mean the big counter right Superior 6 with Vulture does win pretty handily. That being said, Hive Mind Vulture is out of the question now because it's gone. So you're really just stuck with that as a counter. So you're achieving your goal, right? You're pulling the Superior 6 into this room because there's not a whole lot else. And the reason Jubilee is here, she gives the rest of the team health with her passive. But if she dies, she speeds up the Forge, and the Forge goes crazy. So when they try to take those budget options of, Tangle Web or New Warriors, there's a good chance that she gets clipped off, which usually is a bad thing, right? But here, she's going to make Forge go crazy. She's going to make Nightcrawler go crazy. And then when they start going, it is brutal. They can easily just start racing you because, right, once he goes, then they're going to give Cyclops... when Sunspot goes, he's going to give energy. The Cyclops is going to ult, and it's unavoidable. It's super strong damage, and it probably wipes most teams, as you learned.
Yeah, and a lot of people got themselves a big Cyclops from... he was one of the original Diamond characters from the season. So yeah, I like this team. Other options that could go here, the Superior 6 team, but we talked about that briefly. Another team that has offense up on spawn. So we got Extreme, we got Superior 6. It's a little bit limited, right? It's like Young Avengers gets it, but Young Avengers is so old, they would easily get double tapped by the newly built Eternals that are still relevant, whereas Young Avengers fell off. Not many other teams would feed directly into that room, but there's some interesting characters that would. Apocalypse gets an early offense up. Eternal spawn with it. Kestrel spawns with offense up, so that's an interesting character that can go in there. So I do think that we might see some evolution in this room, but nothing that jumps out at you on this first glance. So I'll be interested to see what people do week 1. All right, stage 4, the Unstable Energy. This is going to be a villain-centric room with a double-edged sword. So ultimate abilities are going to cost 2 less. Max health is going to be reduced by 25% though. So we were talking here, and a very common team used is some sort of Skrull team on defense, and then you face it with your Apocalypse and your Doom team. Now, the reason that worked is because Skrull would ult right away, but Doom wouldn't die because he got extra life from Apocalypse, and then he would take Apocalypse for the ride, and Apocalypse would run everybody over. With this minus health, there is a concern that Skrull would straight up one-shot Doom, which you can remedy, but it's going to cost you Dormammu, right? So there's this delicate balance in 4, but there's also this very interesting option if you are a whale, which is the out-of-time team. Why don't you speak on why the out-of-time team could be pretty interesting here given the room rules?
Yeah. So they're actually using their most powerful part. The second part, more importantly, is so Black Knight hits really hard, especially once he's whaled out on. We were talking a little bit before stream about this. Like, there's a massive gap between a 4 red, 4 yellow Black Knight and a 3 diamond Black Knight. So, for example, like I had to fight one last round, and it was a 3 diamond Black Knight, and that instantaneously made me choose from like Cabal with other characters. So like, no, Cabal with MOE is the counter.
Yeah.
I cannot choose anybody else. Kang is the only tune in the game that with the Cabal does enough damage to get through a Black Knight. And so this is forcing them to use their Cabal and their MOE in one spot. Or if you have a smaller Black Knight, they're going to struggle. And again, the biggest thing is that they have 25% less health, so that Black Knight can come back and kill a lot of those villains before they're ready. Or sorry, before they have the... they can't survive a Black Knight with his... because he does a health damage and all this crazy stuff. And so it just makes it far more dangerous. Sus is a great person here too, because... we don't know how big of a Doom you need to survive Sus Explosion, because that's how we used to cheese it. But so if you're wanting to try something out the first week, 'cause I think Sus in here is a good idea, because it might just force Cabal in here anyway, because people can't chance the Doom. Boom in 4 this time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because Doom, not a lot of people are using diamonds on Doom. People kind of already had sort of 7 red, 6 red on Doom when we were doing that strategy. But now Sus has his 5th, 6th, and 7th red star, which is going to dramatically change his damage, plus the minus 25% life. I think you're going to see a lot of Dooms exploding, and if the person didn't bring Dormammu as a contingency plan, it's going to be bad news bears for them, for sure. But yeah, interested in how that turns out.
Yeah, and one thing, after a few weeks, people will learn, like, it's a G18 7/7 Dooms what survives, or and then you start learning what that is. But until we know, you're risking it, and you're going to be the one that has to try it. So it's a good defense at the start. Once people figure out the exact level they need their Doom, it'll stop being a good place to put Sus.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, people like myself, Mobile Gamer, yourself, everybody that covers the game will be showing what that Doom level is once we know it. Another interesting character that put in here, obviously Dormammu will ult turn 1. That's kind of cool. Vulture will ult turn 1, do a rewind. Black Order can slot in here because Thanos will use his ult turn 2, which is a rewind. So there's some interesting possibilities here. But we've seen and we've done this room so many times without the tax on the villain life. So it's not going to be as oppressive as it has been in past seasons, but we'll see how it shapes up for sure. Flashbang. So this room... Man, we spent a lot of time on this room, me and you just now. We spent about an hour trying to craft some sort of team that would take on new warriors or try and make them struggle a little bit. And then we're just like, oh, but then they could just mirror match this. And what we were using was traditionally an offensive team, the Tangled Web team. Do you think that there is room for a team that is like ultimate centric on spawn, or like quickly gets to their turn 2, that's going to actually benefit from stage 5? Or is stage 5 what we generally call like the Infinity Watch room, the Nothing Burger room? Because it is pretty prescriptive, right? Like, you have to use the ultimate, the blind only goes on the primary target, and it reduces their speed by 5%, speed stat, not speed bar, and armor by 25%. Do you think this is just kind of throw whatever team you could throw in here to tax efficiency, or how you feeling about stage 5?
I think that we will start seeing things that are great, but I think this is a great place to put Infinity Watch. Um, Mainly because a lot of the things that would use ultimates early, your Tangle Web, your I was thinking one in my head, I just can't think of it right now. That they're more traditionally offensive teams, and so you're trying to pull. We found ourselves we try to make the team work in here. You're just kind of trying to shove something in here and not necessarily like having good synergy with the room, and so I don't think that's going to be a viable option for most people, or a wise decision.
Yeah, I agree, especially in the opening weeks. I found that in season 6, when I played safely at the beginning of the season, I had way more success than when I started taking chances and trying to one-shot everything in the later half of the season. But yeah, I agree with you. We'll see what people shape up and do here, but you don't want to tax yourself an offensive team to try and get cute in this room just to find out you got easily mirror matched on the other side of it. I think that'd be a bad idea. And this is one of 2 rooms that you said you were thinking about for stage 6, which I thought was super interesting, because the traditional counter here would be New Warriors, and for a slew of reasons, which we debated, and I think you ended up winning that debate, is that the Morgan throws a big wrench into the plans here for a New Warriors counter, especially with the revives coming from Dorm. I think this is a very interesting team. Obviously, we're feeding into that Ghost Rider, so people that crit are going to do bleeds. The Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes is then going to get speed bar. He's going to keep whirling up. And of course, the Secret Defender team, they're not a team you could overlook. They are one of those teams that comes to the game very rarely that has so much depth, so much possibilities when it comes to killing you through RNG. Why don't you talk us through your thoughts on this room and what you think it'll take to beat it, I guess.
So the goal of this is to really pull the top meta, the master keys that we have right now. So let's start with some basics. So Dorm's value this season has gone way up because there's nothing that's yanking off revives as fast as it was. Mm-hmm. You have really big time Spider-Man as a tune, and then you have Black Cat as an offensive weapon. Those are the only 2 like viable revive pools that you can just do at the gate. So this team relies on. So most people want to use New Warriors, and then when New Warriors goes into this, if you didn't know, Morgan Le Fay actually gets speed bar every turn. So she goes in between the death pool and the. If you go after her first, she goes between death pool and cloak, and if she ults, she's gonna probably flip everything to bleeds. Robbie's gonna take like 3 turns because of it, and you're gonna lose. And the Dorm helps make sure that Morgan. More likely is going to live through the opener because they only have like 3 chances to kill her, and before that happens, and you have to kill her twice. That's kind of the goal, right? Is that they're going to go after her with Gwen, Firestar, and Deathbolt. And if they don't get 2 kills on that, that's a very narrow window. Morgan's going to ult, she's going to flip everything, Robbie's going to go crazy. Everyone else is just going to start pinging them down, and that's kind of the power of this team. And so the goal of that, then people know that, is they're going to probably upgrade this to here's where I use Superior 6, here's where I use Cabal. And if you're using those there here, if you're pulling that over here, then that's the win, right? That's the trick.
Yeah, like if you're pulling that away from potentially being used in your raid room or being used against your extreme or your unlimited or even your out of time, then you have successfully taxed properly. Now, that's going to be it for this video. That's kind of the defense where we're both we're sort of here, but we're probably going to make some alterations because we do play against top 10 members, right? So we need to keep a little bit of our secret, but they're not really applicable in the greater scheme of things, and we'll share them later. But generally, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing in this opening week, and then maybe if you want, you can tell me what you're doing. I am probably going to run something extremely similar to this, because I don't want to lose my offensive weapons in the first week. I'd rather keep that power in my pocket so I can address whatever issues people throw in front of me. It's always very creative in the first week, so I want to make sure I have my Superior 6. If there's some sort of wonky, crazy team that has speed up on spawn, I want my Skrull in case the enemy puts Superior 6 on defense. I want my Cabal team, obviously, because I don't think they're going to flex very good to defense anyway. But also for, like you said, like a giant Black Knight, well, I'm going to want my MOE to go with my Cabal team. So the more other teams I save, the more kind of leeway I have with what I use on which counters. That's sort of where I'm at least for this first week. I eventually devolved last season into a very turtley sort of meta where I had Superior 6 on defense, but I ended up refusing to put Skrull on defense, which I think was my downfall. How are you approaching just generally in this opening week, and are you open to being turtle meta again if that's the way it goes?
Yeah. So this is generally, so as the season progresses, this is always kind of how we handle it. Is we have more offense at the start, and then as you start, this is just a tip to do. At the end of every single one of your CCs, when you go into your sixth fight, scroll down, look at what you have available. It's nice that I can go back in my videos, but before that, I used to write down like, okay, I still have, Starcold still, do I have Gamma still? Like, who do I have left? And can I take those pieces and go put them together? That's kind of how I created the team that I used against you, is that I didn't need Tangle Web anywhere. I didn't, I ended up using Tangle Web, but I didn't need Tangle Web. I didn't need Dorm, so when you start seeing like, oh, these pieces that I had on offense, like I no longer need, because if they're not being used to be on an offense and they're not on defense, they're being wasted. And there's, 60 something, you're going to have 150 characters of waste. Make sure that the 150 characters are wasted are not better than the 60 or 70 tunes that you use in a Crucible. That makes sense. So as you progress, you're going to see tougher and tougher defenses from us in our videos and throughout the season. But we usually tend to start more offensive heavy, because going winning, making sure you can clear all 6 rooms is probably your most important thing, and then narrowing down your defenses is probably the second.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the second somebody tries to get too cute on the defensive side and they overload it, and then all of a sudden they can't beat your extreme team with Jubilee, which is exactly what happened to me against Jgiusti. I had everything planned out. I had a lot of stuff on defense, so I ended up needing to allocate too much to the stage 6, and then I couldn't even clear the extreme Jubilee, because your lesser offensive teams, your Tangle Web, your New Warriors, they start to really struggle against some of these seemingly basic defensive teams that you otherwise don't struggle with. So I think that's a very interesting approach, and I couldn't agree more with you. Let's wrap it up here. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I know that we ran a little bit late. We had a big theory crafting section here with chat. Why don't you let people know where they can find you? And of course, the links will be in the description and in the pinned comment below, guys. So make sure you go follow Jgiusti. He's a great content creator, and we're going to have to shoehorn him into the Envoy program soon so he can get on the playtest himself.
Yeah. So you can catch me live usually about 8, 9, or 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. So, and then you can catch me on YouTube. I have a channel. Please like and subscribe to it. Like and subscribe to this channel as well.
Right on, right on. So, Jgiusti, thanks so much for coming out. Everybody, good luck in your first week of Crucible Monday. So make sure you go and you get your defensive set. This is going to come out on Saturday. So today is the day where you can set your defenses, or where you can see the rooms and have an easier time setting your defenses, is probably the way to say it. But for me and Jgiusti from now, bye, guys. Take care.
Laters.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.